Great to see you again, and welcome back to the 401k Marketing Podcast.
Rebecca, thanks so much for having me again. It's great to be a repeat guest.
It's always a joy to talk to you, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to listen as you share more about video and how we continue to evolve more and more into a video-first society. So let's dive in. How does that sound?
I love it
Okay.
because I'm always ready to talk video, especially on video.
That's right. So we're going to talk about visibility wars, which you came up with that. I think it's such a brilliant way of describing it, and how it's harder and harder now to be seen, to your content, to get kind of that awareness, that pop in.
Mhm.
It's fun to say on a microphone. Pop.
Ah,
Yes. And tell us about it. How do you win the visibility war challenge?
I mean, it is a challenge these days. And through 2025, it was a conversation I was having over and over with folks in the financial services space, with folks in the financial services marketing space. It was like we're putting stuff out there and we feel like it's just floating around in the ether. Like there is no uptake anymore with content. And it was really linked to the growing trend of AI and using AI in marketing. It has just become easier and easier to use tools
Mm-hmm.
to create a lot more marketing than ever. And in the video space specifically, I mean, there are tools out there where you can create a script with ChatGPT, drop it into an avatar video tool that the only thing it has is your photo or a 30-second clip of you talking, and it can create avatar videos of you reading that script.
Mm-hmm.
There's a term that became very popular last year called AI slop,
Love
and
it.
that's those avatar created videos that are pretty worthless. They're just kind of gumming up our attention span. And so, with that kind of preponderance of content getting flooded out there, it just becomes harder and harder for anything legitimate that you put out to be heard. And so, a couple of interesting statistics there are that the average person consumes 17 hours of online content each week. And that number has been pretty steady for the past couple of years. It's not like we're watching more right now,
Mm-hmm.
but what has changed is that there is something in the neighborhood of 720,000 hours of video uploaded every day to YouTube. So there's just so much to watch.
I gave a presentation one time where I asked the audience, I was like, okay, everyone, we're all friends here. We're going to get real for just a second. You know, on Sunday nights when your phone shows you your screen time, for any of us, Apple users, tells you what it is, like, you're kind of go, oh, wow, that's a lot. Well, it counts. And then you justify it. That counts work emails, that counts social media, that all the stuff. It's all in there. So it counts. I said, if anyone here is brave enough, raise your hand if it's more than 2 hours a day. Everyone in the audience, straight up, like no questions asked. And then I was like, 3 hours. This is a judgment-free zone. 4 hours. The average American spends 4 hours a day on their phone. So, like, if your hand's up right now, you are part of this is normal. This is normal. And then I was like, 5 hours. You start to see people like laughing and having fun. And I was like, it's okay. Like, we all do this, which translates back to exactly what you're saying, Laura. It's about how do you get seen online? So, what are some is not all information online. Influencers, folks who woke up yesterday and decided that they were going to become bond traders on Reddit. Like, not all advice is good advice. What do you say to that? And how do you help people become known and trusted online?
Oh, well, I mean, all you have to do is hop on TikTok to get some really bad
Mm,
financial advice. I do a lot of presentations and I love throwing in clips that I've pulled down from TikTok of,
yes.
someone talking about penny stocks. And
Mm,
right after that, the former NFL player released all these videos on TikTok, the IRS investigated him. And then the guy talking about like get out of your 401k and get into real estate. It's the best thing to do. And the advice that's there can be such bad advice. And where we come from at Idea Decanter is from a place that you can't stop the bad advice, but you can add good advice to what is, out there.
Mm.
And so you shouldn't let the bad advice stop you. You should do what you can to get actual legitimate good advice out to the audience.
We have an entire series of participant education, and all of our content goes through layers of compliance review, layers of different, we get lots of peer review from our clients. They use it in real life. We get
Mhm.
feedback. And I think that's one way retirement plan advisors can stand out is when they give real human advice and education, it's education, to participants. It creates a name, to a face, to a reputation, to a brand.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of it's not get rich quick schemas. They're actually tried and true tested. It takes a long time to get to retirement, and that's okay. But I think the more we talk about like budgeting, savings, different account types, managed accounts, and then just that time, which time is not sexy. Everyone knows that. Like no one wants to say like, "Oh, it's going to take months or years to do this," but
Mhm.
it's important to base things in reality, which TikTok and a lot of those other things say tomorrow you will have $1 gazillion in your account if you only do X. Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
nice?
reality is less sexy than some of the influencer fluff that's out there for sure. And another way to stand out with your content is to bake your stories or your personal analogies or your metaphors into your content, because that is something that a robot, that AI can't do for you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the lived experience that you do. I was speaking with an advisor who made a funny joke about pounding the cement. And he said, "Oh, yeah, back when I was in college, I had this side job where I would have to go out and take this sledgehammer and break up cement." And he said, "We'd pound it over and over and over. And then finally you'd get this crack, and then the crack would make a bigger deal,
Yeah.
and you'd have this breakthrough." And I thought, like these kind of stories, these personal lived experiences are what AI can't own.
Yes, love that. We've talked before about how video used to be kind of this like nice to have. Oh, when we get through all the rest of the things that we're supposed to be doing, like email, number one, very important. Emailing your clients on a regular cadence, about every 2 weeks. Making sure that you're reaching out to centers of influence, making sure that you're doing articles. Okay, now it's social media posting, and it kind of layers like a cake. And then at the, some of the topper periphery frosting, like, oh, video, that would be very cool. I think you could throw podcasting on there. Like, it's nice to have, but like, does it in like the layers of the cake, like, where does it belong? And now I think you could probably argue it's mainstream. What do you think about that?
It's moved down layers of the
Yes,
cake.
it's gotten into.
I was very surprised, and I'm going to share some preliminary results from our State of Advisor video marketing report.
Tell us.
So, about 90 days ago, we decided there is not enough good, there are not enough good statistics out there to know what is really happening in the video sense in the advisor world. And so we
Hmm,
put together a survey that we pushed out. And it is at the time of this recording not yet released, but it is closed and we have started crunching the numbers. And one thing that I will share early is that more than half of advisors say they are using video in their marketing.
love it.
And I was stunned because the latest statistics I had seen from any research, which I believe was from Kitsy's, was something in the neighborhood of 20%.
Oh, wow.
So the adoption rate of video has just exploded. And, you know, that ranges anywhere from I have brought in a video production crew and we've produced all of this really glossy content to someone who's picked up their cell phone and recorded themselves, very DIY style.
Mhm.
All of that counts as video marketing, but that more than half of advisors now report that they have
Wow.
is pretty stunning to me. It tells me that this is more of a base layer of the cake than it used to be.
I would next, how data works. You get the first statistic. You're like, this is amazing. And then the next thing someone says, is like, oh, I wonder if you could dive into this section, which sorry, I'll be that person. Um, it'll be so interesting next year when you do this survey. Is it professionally done like Idea Decanter does for their clients? So you can share it and it makes you come off as, um, polished, professional, put together, trustworthy? Or is it more in that DIY TikTok style, which by the way, the really high quality TikTok folks, like they have production teams, like very
Yes.
deep. This is not some like 15-year-old, like, no, these are real companies behind it. There's some really great YouTube and TikToks out there about the team behind like the multiple millions of dollar. Yeah, that was a slip of the tongue, but correct. Multiple million viewers that it takes.
Yeah.
So they also have teams, but is it more of that DIY style where you just grab your iPhone
And
and walk
that's a
around?
great point. It isn't a question we asked. We didn't have them slate themselves into
Yeah,
what production quality are you creating. What we know to be true is that what was expected from your viewer 10 years ago for
right.
how glossy your video looked is completely different than what is expected today. And it doesn't hurt an advisor's brand to do DIY video.
Mm,
What becomes the challenge for most advisors is that it is really hard to stick to. So without having that
yeah,
production
yeah.
crew that's doing all the project management and all
Hmm.
of kind of the behind the scenes stuff of
Yeah.
content creation, it is really hard to become that kind of creator that sticks to a schedule and drops enough content to start making a difference. In fact, I was on a call yesterday with one of the advisors who's been creating video with us since 2020, and we were talking about what he wants to do in 2026. What
Hmm.
what is the next kind of mountain to climb with video with him, because
Yeah.
he has done all of that foundational content, the why story, the value proposition, the process, the
Yeah.
who we work with, like all of those basic things. And then he has done all of this content. He's an endurance athlete. He
Yeah.
does Ironmans.
Sure.
And so he does a lot of content kind of built around the stories that he's learned from going through the experience of training for those grueling races and going through them. And so he's got tons of content. We're talking about what he wants to do next, and he was talking about, doing more off the cuff, like quick turn kind of content. And then he looked at me and he said, Laura, he's like, I'm a financial advisor. I am not a content creator. And I think I need to stay in my lane. What we do together, having, regular content that comes out
Yeah.
every couple of weeks, that's enough for me. I have made the footprint I need to make. I need to continue what I'm doing, but I simply can't dedicate what it takes to become a YouTuber,
Hmm.
kind of those millions of views kind of sensation.
It's really wise of them to recognize that and to say, like, I trust the experts here.
Yeah.
Because if it kind of like, what's your day job? Well,
Yeah.
and Dan Sullivan always talks about hire people who, not how. Like that's his
Mhm.
entire premise, which I think most folks who are listening know that book. I think we've all kind of have it like weirdly tattooed on us. Who, not
Yeah.
how.
It changed my life, that book. Yes.
Exactly. Like, so everyone who, like, when you think about it, you're like, okay, who can I hire? Who knows how to do this? Who keeps me accountable?
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite word for 2026 is accountable.
Accountable.
So who's keeping me accountable? Is it Idea Decanter? Is it Proudmouth? Is it, you know, Shellfishly for retirement plan marketing? How are you staying on track with your goals? And you can even go down to like hiring a personal coach. Like they keep
Mhm.
you accountable and Everyone always says, "Oh, I wish I started this." Insert time horizon. It doesn't matter what the goal is. That's exactly what it is with video. Start today. So then in 6 years, you can say, I've done all of these great things. I have a huge following. People know who I am. And every time I talk to them, they probably don't want to talk about financial advice or information. They want to talk about my Iron Man because that's how I'm known and I have a brand.
I love that Chinese proverb, "When is the best time to plant a tree?" And it's 20 years
Yeah.
ago. And when is the second best time? And it's now.
Yeah.
I do an interview series with advisors who have dived into video marketing and have had success to get their secrets. And I ended up actually writing a book based on the series. But there are some great stories in there from people in the industry who have kind of gone ahead of you if you haven't started video,
Hmm.
and you can really learn from them. And let me give you an example. One guy, his name is Derek Notman, and he was an advisor who started a fintech, but he says he joined LinkedIn in 2008,
Okay.
and he would get in and scroll and occasionally hit the like button, and every couple of years he'd stop and wonder, like, why isn't LinkedIn working for me? I hear people say LinkedIn is great and it doesn't do much for me. And 10 years in 2018, he decided, hey, I'm going to start putting out content instead of just lurking. And he said he went from his creeper phase to his creator phase
Hmm.
in
Love that.
2018. And today he is one of LinkedIn's top voices,
Wow.
which is the top 1% of the top 1% on LinkedIn
Wow.
of people who are putting out content. And
Amazing. Go,
he
Derek.
said that when he made that shift in 2018, that it changed everything about his business, his ability to network, the growth, the speed of growth. And so back to, when do you start? Like, it would have been great if you would have started in 2018. You could have ridden the same wave that Derek rode, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't start now.
I love this. You wrote a book, which I want to talk about Find Your Finfluence, a financial advisor's guide to standing out and succeeding with video. So tell us about it. You mentioned a small amount of what inspired it, but like let's hear directly from the author.
Well, it was a project that kind of snuck up on me. I had been doing these interviews with advisors, getting their secrets, and I realized, we put out an episode. There are like three secrets we highlight in each of them, and then it's kind of gone into the ether. I mean, it's still on YouTube, it's still on the website, but
Yeah.
I thought, wouldn't it be great if I pulled this together in a practical way that people could use it? And so what ended up happening is I picked out 52 tips
Okay.
from all of the Finfluencer interviews I had done to date when I was working on the book. And then I thought, we need an organization here. And so I came up with this name for um, the process of creating video called the 3, 2, 1 countdown.
Okay. Love
And
it.
it was based on, I was in TV news for about a decade before launching Idea Decanter, and I was not a news director's idea of on-air talent. My hair was too frizzy and my voice was too high, but I really loved the job, so I stuck with it.
Uh-huh.
And the hair I could fix, I had to blow dry it out, but the voice, I needed some coaching, and so I found this guy who coached on-stage actors,
Hmm.
and he taught me this trick that was, when you're going to record or present on camera, start up here like 3, 2, 1, and it brings your voice kind of lower in your register, and you sound more reassuring when you're delivering. And so from that, I stole that 3, 2, 1
Hmm.
countdown and put it as a framework for how advisors can create videos. So the 3 is for prepare, and that's getting clear about your audience
Hmm.
before you actually create the videos. And the 2 is for record, and that is showing up in a way that is real and relatable
Okay.
because you want to be yourself on camera, just the same person that a client would be sitting down with in person.
Mm-hmm.
And the 1 is for convert,
Hmm.
and that's turning the attention into action because video marketing really isn't about an ego play, though for some people It probably is
Mhm.
getting all the likes and views, but video marketing needs to be about moving the needle for your business.
Mhm. Love that. So prepare by knowing your audience. Honestly, every year someone you should sit down as a team and script out like who is your ideal audience and like get so granular sometimes it like hurts your brain. Um, a lot of times we'll put like fake photos, like photo stock people up behind us, and then we'll write out like who they are, like their job
Mm.
titles, like what keeps them up at night, what does their commute look like, what are they doing during their commute, how can we fill that time, like all these like little things that get like
Listening to this podcast.
listening to this podcast. And then be real on camera. Like I love that. I think your idea on that the octave coming down, that is such
Mm.
golden advice. I think Patrice and I are gonna steal that in the future because
3,
it's
2, 1.
fun, grounded, and then convert. Yeah, that call to action at the end. A lot of times people just say, "Here's all this great information," and end scene, instead of saying, "Contact us," or "Email us below," or I'm sure you have a lot of nuggets of call to actions that could be really well clicked. You always have to A/B test them.
Yeah, I think when you're structuring your message for a video, it is important not to give it all away. Because if you give it all away, you've educated them and they move on.
Yeah.
And there is, with 720,000 hours of video being uploaded to YouTube every day, there is a lot of education out there.
Mhm.
And so if you can frame your message in a way that's delivering some of the value, but leaving them hanging and needing to
Mhm.
go somewhere to get the rest, whether that's a downloadable or signing up for a list,
Yeah.
some way that you can bring them more into the middle of your funnel instead of just up there at the top.
Schedule a 30-minute consult to get your
Hmm.
most top of mind questions answered, something like
Yeah.
that. Um, this is a question that we get constantly. It's around ROI.
Mhm.
How do you help advisors evaluate the ROI for marketing spend, video spend?
Well, one more early result from the State of Advisor video
Hmm.
report was that advisors typically find this murky. Something in the lines, and I'm just pulling numbers out of the top of my
Sure.
head, but something like 88% of those surveyed said that they thought video was worth the investment,
Oh, it's great.
but very few of them knew how to tie it to their AUM
Hmm.
or figure out what the direct ROI was. And so with our clients at Idea Decanter, we like to talk about it in terms of hard metrics and soft metrics
Hmm.
to get the full picture. And the hard metrics is just simply spreadsheeting it out
Yep.
and tracking, views, comments, likes, shares, those kinds of things on all of the platforms. And that gives you like a visual of where are we getting the most uptake and which topics are resonating on which platforms. Because oftentimes, if you're on 3 or 4 different platforms,
Hmm.
your audiences on each will be kind of consuming different kinds of content.
Yep.
But understanding that hard metrics side is important. The soft metrics are a little easier to ignore, but really important to track. And
Hmm.
those are like comments you get when you're sitting down with a prospect or a client and they say, I watched that video and I feel like I already know you.
Yes.
In fact, I was talking to an advisor that we've been working with for 9 years on video
Yeah.
marketing on a strategy session recently. Her name's Tracy Richmond.
Love
And
this.
she said that for her, those soft metrics were super valuable. And we had coached her years ago in starting a document so
Yes.
that she was actually recording, just a quick line of a date and what happened.
Yeah.
And she said that when she started doing that, 3 or 4 years ago, she was getting, 2 or 3 responses, like emails back from clients
Hmm.
or prospects based on whatever she had sent out. And today she gets 7 or 8. And she said, while those feel good every time they happen, when you can actually look at a tracking of the numbers and say, hey, this content is resonating
Hmm.
and this is making a difference. The combination of the hard and soft metrics is the best way to do it.
Love this. And I'll go into a little bit of the weeds on stuff that we do over here. For years, it's always been like centers of influence drive 70% of new client activities in the retirement plan space. Centers of influence and referrals, sorry. And so we've been writing out, which is a lot, where you say you have your prospect person, and then they get a referral from like one of your clients. Well, then your prospect goes to your website, digital journey. We can now see that prospect has come to your website. Then we can cookie their browser and follow them around on the internet. And we can share back to the advisor that this prospect has come to your website through an automation program, which tells you like plan assets, who the decision makers are, LinkedIn. And then we started another human touch way to get in front of those prospects as well. So you're doubling down, not just digital, but also on the human side, which is missing in today's environment, to
Mhm.
try and drive pipeline activity and convert faster by having greater awareness. That was very concise and hundreds of hours to put together. But that's where we've moved to, because from the top level, all you see is prospect got introduced by client, but
Mhm.
there's below the iceberg is all of that research and due diligence, and anything can spook a prospect nowadays.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you have a really tight consistency program. And then you can say, actually, this is where prospect introduced to referral, but then here's all the data underneath it on how that prospect made that. I would like to have that conversation. That sounds nice.
That is amazing to
Thanks.
be able to do all that tracking, and I know that the conventional wisdom used to be it took 7 brand touches
Mhm.
for us to make a decision, and the latest research I've read is that it takes 30.
Yes.
So you are
Yes.
100% on point when you say the visible iceberg is the COI and the introduction, but there are 29 more points
Yeah.
that are hidden
Yeah.
that eh, a system like that is so valuable in being able to
And
track.
video would be a great component of it, because then you can send a
Mhm.
video directly to that person via email and say, hi, insert name, and then your call to action, what your value prop is. And now you've just boosted your opportunity to get in front of that person.
And you
So,
can track if they opened it, if they watched
hello.
it, how much of it they watched.
Data's getting scary, right? It's scary and cool. Like, it's kind of like mad scientist. Like, oh, it's kind of fun, but also like,
What can we do now?
should we be talking about this out loud? All right. Two more questions. Is it too late to start video marketing? You just threw a ton of amazing statistics out there. What's your opinion?
I mean, if you're sitting there kicking yourself thinking, I wish I would have done what Derek did back in 2018, it's okay. It is not too late. And you don't have to become a massive content creator to get into video. Base level, the bottom layer of that cake is really having a video on the homepage of your website and figuring out other ways to use that same asset. It's not creating content you're dropping every day. So if you were going to start with just one project, I would start there. What is the value proposition? How do I want my prospects to get to know me when they hit the website? And then go from there. If that project works out great for you, if you feel like you have more bandwidth, expand. What else can I do for my website? How can I work this into email marketing? How does this fit into my social media strategy? Lots and lots you can do with it, but you don't have to do everything at
I
once.
love that. So, first step, one video. One. Just one video.
Just do
Yes.
it.
I love that. Anything else, Laura, today that we should have covered that you would like to discuss before we wrap?
We have built a real Finfluencer community around the interviews that I started doing with content creators. I mean, the idea was to inspire folks in financial services to get the good word out there to combat the bad finfluence. And so if you are interested in following along in those those journeys, to hear the stories and the interviews, and be invited to some exclusive influencer community events, you can sign up and join the community on our website. It's at the bottom of the homepage on ideadecanter.com.
Awesome. All right. So if you're one of those folks today who is on your phone or scrolling for 16 hours a week and you want to move from lurker to creator, contact Laura at Idea Decanter. And Laura, what's the best way to contact you? Is it LinkedIn, email? What's
You can
best?
always reach out to me at Laura at ideadecanter.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to today's 401k Marketing Podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of our guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of 401k Marketing. The content has been available for informational and educational purposes only. We hope you enjoyed.